Good evening and welcome to the Tibet Center. Here at 502 North Ridgewood Road, South Orange, New Jersey. So this Saturday there will not be a Tara puja, but there will be next Saturday. Here, same address at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
2 o'clock is the old time.
So,
All right.
we will begin by reciting the prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West.
You want to sit over there.
We have a new lighting configuration here. Okay. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent
collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon.
And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharmas, called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, "How should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge?" And Avalokiteshvara answered, "Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no object of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge, and since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequal mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Taryata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswaha. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. We generate bodhicitta. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Okay. So let's do a recitation of Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So, this mantra of Om Mani Padme Hum, the mantra of compassion, compassion is the motivation that establishes our practice as being really devoted to others rather than simply to ourselves. And it is the really fundamental attitude that we have to cultivate to make our spiritual practice truly relevant. Tsongkhapa talks about when we have compassion, it's important that we develop a real understanding of the suffering that we are experiencing. We have to understand our situation within cyclic existence as being one of suffering. We have to really recognize that. If we don't recognize that, then there's no way that we can develop true compassion towards those whom we don't really care much about. Develop true compassion towards those whom we dislike. Develop true compassion towards all the people whom we have, or all sentient beings whom we have no association with whatsoever. The fundamental way by which we develop some kind of understanding of and wish to remove the suffering of others is if we know what suffering is, if we acknowledge what suffering is. And to do that, we have to begin by recognizing our own suffering. Now this is something, can we have compassion towards ourselves? I'm not sure that one would consider that to be compassion, but we do have to recognize that we are suffering. And out of that recognition that we are suffering comes a determination to change our situation. Out of compassion, as we recognize that others are suffering the same way that we are, we develop a wish to change their situation, to remove their suffering. So that acknowledgement of our own suffering is really important. And so I don't know, what do you think about the idea of, is the wish to not suffer ourselves, is that compassion towards ourselves?
I don't know. The idea of first recognizing the suffering, though, is powerful, because it's we just try to block ourselves from the realization that we're suffering, and we cover it up, and so you don't taste it. But sometimes events of life force you into the corner, and you start to taste it, and then if you have the mind enough to switch, others are like this too. It could be powerful. I don't know if we can define it compassion to ourselves or not. Have to think about that. But they all say that though. We must have compassion to ourselves. I mean, a lot of people.
Yeah, in the sort of general modern way of talking about compassion, you can't have compassion for others unless you have compassion for. But I'm not sure that's really compassion.
What they mean by it is to kind of recognize and acknowledge that you yourself are suffering, which is what you're saying, right? So like because like a lot of people try to kind of like block it or push it away or ignore it or whatever, so stop doing that.
Right.
And then kind of like feel the same feeling that you would towards another suffering person, but towards yourself. I mean, I think those things make sense as such. I don't know whether definitionally it falls under compassion or not, because I mean, you always feel the desire to remove your own suffering. I think that's just automatic.
I think compassion is compassion, and we're meditating on the equality of self and others. So shouldn't the compassion be equal?
What is the definition of
Quality of
the
self and others, I don't know if there's different contexts.
I think we have many eons of self-cherishing, and so to balance that out, we need to emphasize compassion for others. But I think that it's the same thing.
Is where the step-by-step instructions come in hand.
Compassion for yourself means understanding the nature of our own state, of our own suffering state. It's like being in a burning forest and the wish to get out of that, and then eventually to help all this other people become enlightened.
So we call the former renunciation, the wish to extricate ourselves from this situation that we're in. We don't,
Compassion also? Self-compassion? No, not necessarily.
according to Mark,
If they want any more, watch out.
and that's whatever every Hinayana practitioner is working at implementing, is the removal of his or her suffering. So it's a form, we can use the word, it's not great compassion. How's that? Can we do that? Can we say that? Yeah.
What is the, you said it is what, the Hinayana, what is the it?
The compassion that you were suggesting that we have towards ourselves, that you're suggesting is the same as the compassion that we have towards all sentient beings, is not great compassion. The compassion that we have towards all sentient beings is a great compassion that is an attitude wishing that all sentient beings be free of their suffering. The wish to remove my suffering, I feel a little uncomfortable calling that compassion. I don't know.
The equalizing self and others.
Anyone out in the,
Let me wait a minute. The mic's on back there? Yes, do it.
There's mics over there.
No, all over the place, Eugene.
The Mixima mantra refers to aspectless compassion.
so there are there's the
Well,
compassion that you would have towards sentient beings, then you have the compassion that you have viewing their impermanence, and then you have the compassion towards them viewing their emptiness of inherent existence, which is the aspectless.
So,
But it's not towards yourself, it's towards...
but how could we ever exclude ourselves from that?
the idea you brought up, exchanging self and others, that's a technique used to put the same power of the ego that you have towards yourself, to throw it out there and put that ego cherishing to every sentient being. That's what that's for, that self and others. It's not like an equation. It's all right, so then they're equal to us. So when we have compassion for ourselves, then we have compassion for others.
Because you're inherently
Doesn't work like-
non-existent, that's how.
There is no self, right?
There is, but not inherent self.
Maybe there's a
Always qualified.
maybe there's a distinction here between having the wish to remove your own suffering, which is automatic, and I think strictly speaking, definitionally, is compassion towards oneself. Right?
But even the wish to remove our suffering, we go about it, the true implementation of the steps towards the removal of our suffering is working towards removing ourselves from cyclic existence. That
I
is,
think compassion alone just refers to the wish to remove it, right? The knowing of the
others.
how refers to wisdom.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm being
Yeah, no, you're right.
I
No,
mean,
no.
I think the meaning of the word compassion just
Right.
means the wish to remove the suffering of the object of compassion. So if you're saying, do we have compassion towards ourselves, that the meaning of that sentence is, do we have the wish to remove the suffering of ourselves? I think we do, because I think it's automatic. I think there's nothing special about that.
So,
And then there's self-cherishing, which in this context I think would mean prioritizing the removal of our suffering over the suffering of others.
I don't think that self-cherishing, it doesn't even bring in others. It's simply wishing to please ourselves.
Okay, yeah, so I guess my question is that there I think is a distinction between the two, right? Like, compassion towards myself is just kind of an automatic thing that every sentient being has. It's just the wish to avoid pain.
Not sure about that.
I mean, I think definitionally, right, it is the wish to remove the suffering of the object of compassion. Like,
But
that's just a definition, right?
But I think we have so many habits and so many assumptions about what really brings us happiness. And the Dharma is teaching
That's
us.
another
Right, but I'm trying to split hairs and
You
say
know,
that the
you're right.
distinction
You're-
between compassion and
You're
wisdom,
staying on
right?
line, you're staying in line.
I mean, I know I'm splitting hairs, but I think what you're referring to would be
I can't
wisdom
do
in
that.
this context, right? The knowing of the how to.
No, wisdom, we have to be very specific. Wisdom is the recognition that there is no self.
That's the wisdom realizing
Inherent self.
emptiness.
Yeah,
right?
but that's what I mean, in terms of of implementing the techniques by which we extricate ourselves from suffering, wisdom would be the recognition that there is no self. Compassion would be the wish to remove the suffering. I don't know, I automatically would say of others.
Of the object of compassion, right? Compassion
Of,
towards.
I said others, you're saying the object of compassion.
Because the object could be you.
Well, you asked, is it possible to have compassion towards oneself? So
And
is it possible?
I'm resisting
Yeah,
an agreement with that. We don't have to settle this. I'm just maintaining the fact that there are two views.
But what do you mean by self?
Inherent self.
Conventional self.
Wise guy. He's a wise guy.
We are in
He is
a Buddhist center.
He's a wise
You
guy.
can't, you have to, you suspend for the
That was-
purpose of the flow of thought. You can't go, you're arguing two different cases in
So
court.
when we're talking, what do we mean by self? We mean what we grasp at. You mean when we're talking about self-cherishing and self-grasping, an inherently existed self. We're grasping at, and we're
Yeah.
trying to please this notion of
So I
an
don't want to have
independent.
compassion for that.
Very good.
Do I want to have compassion for that?
Well, I
That
mean,
doesn't
we wanna
exist.
Yeah, but I think the way when we just say compassion for self, I mean, I can only speak for myself. As an ordinary being, I just hear that as me over here, you over there,
Yeah,
never the twain shall meet. But that, I mean, I feel
you'd
like,
be very lonely.
but I think,
Every once in a while they can meet, no?
Yeah,
Little,
and then little selves come out.
but I think if we're not feeling it in that way and we feel in some of an interdependence, then there's more of a fluidity between self and other. Compassion can be for oneself and others.
okay. So I let you decide how you want to use the word compassion, but it is the wish to remove the suffering, and I'm saying of others. You're saying of the object.
It's purely grammatical distinction.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any.
We
like,
understand, Eugene.
Yeah.
So all right. So where are we in terms of our when we view these others towards whom we are developing compassion, and I should say that in no text that I've read has the concept of compassion being applied to oneself
Yeah.
ever. But I do not know, I must admit, and maybe someone out there or in the crowd out there will
We talk to the usher.
know, yeah, if we have a mic for anyone in the back who might
Pass it
have
around. Someone raising their hand.
a specific quotation regarding whether compassion, ninje, karuna, is applied to oneself, or whether it is an attitude that one has not towards oneself but towards others, while the compassion that one has towards oneself would be the aspiration to attain freedom from our own suffering, which is renunciation.
covered by
anyway,
a
it's something
different
to
word.
think about. It's
a
not.
good one. It's also very good.
But, however, to start over, in order to have that wish to remove the suffering of others, in other words, now these are all meditations, so that when we sit and we contemplate the suffering of others, when we sit on the subway and we look around and if we wish to make use of that time on the subway constructively, if we look at each person and maybe we see a cockroach or a mouse or something like that, and we think each one of these wishes to be free of its suffering. Each one of these is suffering. If we want to develop a deeper understanding of that, or deeper feeling of that, we have to recognize the suffering that exists within cyclic existence. In other words, we have to recognize our own suffering as being ascension being within cyclic existence. We have to, it's not simply the suffering we're experiencing in this life. We have to think of the suffering that we've been experiencing over countless past lives, that and the actions that we've engaged in over countless past lives that are going to cause us to suffer more in the future. It is out of this real recognition of the horror, the what would you call it? The complicated entanglements that we have within a web of causes of suffering, that we develop the wish to get out, and that we recognize that each one of those other people are stuck in that situation as well. And out of that comes a feeling of wishing to that they be free of that. Is that?
Yes, but trying to think of it, can't describe, but it brings up a stronger. The more you realize how they're suffering and related, how bad you feel when you so. I think the wish is stronger than the motivation is stronger to achieve Buddha. The only place you can go to get rid of all that Buddhahood. And
So
the gift
what-
you can give them.
What Tsongkhapa says is that if our compassion, if we do not approach the development of compassion with a real understanding of the suffering that we experience within cyclic existence, the different levels of suffering that we are experiencing, the suffering of change, the all-pervasive suffering of conditioning, if we don't really recognize those, then when we see someone, who's doing well in life, we're not going to have any compassion towards them. Then when we think of someone who's caused us harm, we're going to actually, if they're having a difficult time, we're going to feel a certain pleasure. And so
True.
it has to start from a recognition of the suffering of cyclic existence, the suffering that I'm experiencing within cyclic existence, and then go from there.
When he says that, he takes for granted, of course, that we view human life through the lens of many lives. I mean, because I think recognizing the suffering of cyclic existence without kind of internalizing that there are past and future lives is not really going to work.
That's why it's called cyclic. Something's cycling around.
I mean, that's often viewed as
True.
a kind of like very religious thing, etc., many lives.
Yes, and we have to even understand the mechanics of the 12 links of interdependent origination that where we are actually, let's say, pulled along from action to action, from step to step, from life to life, that our past actions cause us to be propelled into situations where, due to our past tendencies, we act in ways that generate more karma, negative karma, that cause us to continue to suffer. So yes, past and future lives, and as I say, the whole mechanics of
I
the
mean,
system.
the basics of the mechanics, right? I mean, the specifics of how karma functions, we cannot understand. But the fact that it's like, it functions along some sort of like leads to like principle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this, again, this conversation, all of this is the real, I don't know if
The
I'm
work.
allowed to say
You
the
always
meat
say
and
the work,
potatoes
yeah,
of,
yeah.
of,
The
of
tofu and
Buddhist
twigs.
practice, of, sorry?
No, it's just tofu and twigs, I don't want meat. The politically correct term for meat and potatoes in the Buddhism, maybe it's tofu and vegetable in it. Hey, Mark.
The tofu and vegetables of our practice is tofu and twigs. These thoughts. And again, this is, I don't know if I said it here or whether it was in New York. The whole, as we sit on the train or the subway or the bus or as we go along in our lives, and most, I think our natural way of navigating life is trying to protect ourselves from getting hurt in any way and trying to enjoy as much as we can. And we're so that those thoughts are all about ourselves. And one of the things that we're really trying to do is go beyond ourselves and really consider others. And even if we can't actually go out and help them, develop some kind of concern for them, develop some kind of thought towards others. That's I think that's the sort of basis of what we could call a spiritual attitude towards the world rather than a totally self-centered one. Yes.
The reason why I said, if you don't mind, I want to share short personal story. The reason I said the thing about the many lives is because when I started coming here, I personally was very resistant to that idea because it's considered kind of like religious mumbo jumbo out in the normal world.
This is the normal world, just for the. Just,
Well, you know
This
what
is
I
the-
mean.
this is
Like
real.
outside of outside of Buddhism. So I mean, so like as we started reading the Lamrim, I was kind of like my own personal mind was resistant to this idea, and like over years of repeating the simple argument for why it is more likely that there are past and future lives than not. I mean, that argument is strictly speaking not totally conclusive, but it's a plausibility argument or whatever. Eventually my mind changed, and like that kind of was, I had a little bit of that moment of realizing how true, like how, I guess terrible that situation actually is.
which
Well,
situation?
like
We're not believing in past
when it switches and you realize, oh, there actually probably are past and future lives.
Uh-huh.
Down tending
There's
towards
that comes with a little bit of a shock as to like what that actually means in reality, right?
The ramifications of that. Yeah. So, but I think that considering the sort of natural, self-centered ways in which we behave, react to the world, those we can recognize without any consideration of past or future lives.
That's
And the benefits of caring, of going beyond ourselves and caring for others. The whole thought, I am one and others are infinite, and should I devote myself to caring for this one or for the infinite others? There are many who would say, hey, you can't do much about all those others, but you can do something about yourself. But if we consider our dependence on all those others for our happiness, we begin to develop a concern.
I still think the religion, kind of what would be called religious aspects of like, that there are many lives and that you can move towards some kind of state in which you can be more helpful to those other people, I think is important for this, because otherwise that argument bites, that like, yes, there are so many of them, but you can't do anything for them, so what are you gonna, but of course Buddhism says, yes, there is something you can do for them.
Become a Buddha.
Right, but but that's a Buddhist,
Yeah.
or look at this, a religious statement.
Yes, however, even non-religiously, leaving religion aside, as we navigate life, one of the things I think that His Holiness is suggesting is that the more we remove the emphasis from being on ourselves and consider others, the happier we are,
Yes.
and the happier those around us are.
I mean, the like worldly regular compassion versus great compassion distinction, I guess. The benefits of just regular compassion, just caring about what happens to other people, living a life focused on other people, are just empirically undeniable. Yeah, that's,
Yeah, undeniable, but the whole of our society is aimed
Sure.
towards.
Yeah.
Okay, so let us. I have that here we reached page 16. Is that?
Yeah. What do I mean by this? According to my.
Yeah. What do I mean by this? So let's go back and see just where we are. When we think carefully, we see that they are all ethical. Let's go a little further back. Unlike the suffering of sickness, old age, and death, none of the problems His Holiness was talking about the societal problems, young people using drugs and alcohol, suicides, taking place in society. None of these problems is by nature inevitable, nor are they due to any lack of knowledge. When we think carefully, we see that they are all ethical problems. In other words, there are those problems that we cannot escape. So we're going to get old, we're going to get sick, we're going to die, as Tony likes to remind us of. However, there are all sorts of added problems that we actually put on ourselves. They each reflect our understanding of what is right and wrong, and what is positive and what is negative, of what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. But beyond this, we can point to something more fundamental, a neglect of what I call our inner dimension. What do I mean by this? According to my understanding, our overemphasis on material gain reflects an underlying assumption that what it can, by itself alone, provide us with all the satisfaction we require. No?
Everyone says no.
Yeah?
That's not hard.
the new car, the new
Yeah,
camera,
yeah,
the new,
camera, the new lens,
they
nice and
help,
clean,
they help, yes?
temporarily,
So,
very temporary.
Find help, I guess.
they
Ooh,
tickle
good.
our
Pickled, no.
needs, but they simply satisfy us on the sense level. Yet by nature, the satisfaction material gain can provide us with will be limited to the level of the senses. If it were true that we human beings were no different from animals, this would be fine. However, given the complexity of our species, in particular the fact of our having thoughts and emotions as well as imaginative and critical faculties, it is obvious that our needs transcend the merely sensual.
That's a bomb. That's a really big.
So what's particularly helpful about this is that His Holiness is, in very stark terms, saying that the way in which we, for the most part, seek happiness, satisfaction, whatever, is not actually getting to any kind of a deeper place of need. It's satisfying this very superficial level of need, our senses. And that's, well, what do you think? Yeah?
Feels true. Yep. Yes.
Well, if you're hungry, you should eat. I mean, there's
Thank you.
some needs that it's okay to satisfy.
So the problem with these
Okay.
needs is they continue, even if you're hungry,
In
you
this
eat,
body,
then
yeah.
5 hours later, you
But that's
you
a
want
little
more food.
different.
Yeah.
If you crave a certain food, you got a problem. I'm hungry, but I don't want this, I want this. If you're hungry, it's a biological thing, you're gonna eat, I mean, unless you're crazy.
I mean, the way
So
we're
what do
made
we
up
eat now?
is
No.
like we always want things. This is just
Yeah.
our nature, you know? It's the
Unfortunately,
physical,
and we can't get them.
emotional nature, yeah. You always crave more and more.
So we have an interesting, is compassion for ourselves the same as compassion we have for all sentient beings? 67% of the YouTube polls say no,
Yeah,
and
that's
33% of the YouTube polls say yes.
Well, that's the authority
Which
now.
poll is that?
It's
The
the YouTube
YouTube
poll.
YouTube poll.
What does AI say?
What kind of YouTube, area of YouTube did they poll? Because everybody's on YouTube. So it's really
Probably
any.
whoever's watching the stream right now.
YouTube comment. One possible reference would be when it states in Lojong, commence taking progressively from your own side.
I forgot what that
This
means.
is Jeff Allen.
Let's go back to that. Put all the blame on oneself, that's what that means.
Or is that Tonglen?
No, that's part of the Lojong. Put the blame on yourself, yeah, that's what, his way of phrasing it, translates differently. Put everything on your self-cherishing, which causes all these problems.
Drive all blames into one.
Something like that, yeah, there's all kinds of, that's what's confusing. We have to
So-
pass a law on one word, no.
So this whole idea of going beyond the sensual satisfaction and arriving at a deeper happiness or satisfaction, the prevalence of anxiety, stress, confusion, uncertainty, and depression among those whose basic needs have been met is a clear indication of this. So that's, given that there are those who really do have all that they need, and who continue to experience anxiety, stress, confusion, uncertainty, and depression, that satisfaction of those needs is not leading them to the place that they really wish to be. Our problems, both those we experience externally, such as wars, crimes, and violence, and those we experience internally, our emotional and psychological sufferings, cannot be solved until we address this underlying neglect. That is why the great movements of the last 100 years and more, democracy, liberalism, socialism, have all failed to deliver the universal benefits they were supposed to provide, despite many wonderful ideas. So one of the things, I mean, His Holiness is talking about political movements, and those are, applying concepts, philosophical views, or well, let's say concepts, or on a society, while the only way in which we actually bring about happiness is when we work at changing it within ourselves, or changing our attitude within ourselves. It can't be something political that we apply on others. It has to be something that we work on within ourselves. That is so. I mean, democracy, liberalism, socialism all have the potential to, or can provide the framework that can help alleviate suffering. But spiritual change or inner change has to be undertaken on the individual level, and will only be experienced on the individual level. I'm throwing that in. I don't know what your thoughts are.
What will only be experienced on the individual level?
The
These things, liberalism, democracy, they're good for giving you what they call a precious human birth. All these society ideas work, there's no war, there's a place for you to get educated, etc. That's just the start. Then you have to take that good position you have and develop yourself internally, which you can't do if you're under bombardment and stuff. The Tibetans are smart enough to get out. Get out under bombardment. But anyway, that's about it. He always says lasting happiness always comes from internal, or the mind. So,
Yeah, but I mean, I'm trying to say that these political structures can be beneficial, and if we engage in helping them along in a truly selfless, in a way, with the motivation to provide society with structures that help the person who is benefited by this process is me, and and the contribution that I'm making to society out of that virtuous effort contributes in a positive way. But the important thing is my own attitude towards it. The motivation, actions. When we talk about karma means action, and we often think of karma action as being physical actions that we engage in, or the verbal actions. But the real meaning of karma is the motivational actions that accompany all other actions. It is those motivations that determine our future situation.
Holiness, gives you a good example of, he works both on his inner development and in the world, he talks environmental processes and justice and all that, so he's giving you a way to do it, just leading by example, the best teacher.
So, that is why the great movements. A revolution is called for, certainly, but not a political, an economic, or even a technical revolution. We have had enough experience of these during the past century to know that a purely external approach will not suffice. What I propose is a spiritual revolution. It's not comrades, it's comrade me. I have to work at diminishing my self-cherishing.
The state is more important than you.
No magic, no mystery. In calling for a spiritual revolution, am I advocating a religious solution to our problems after all? No. As someone nearing 70 years of age at the time of writing, I have accumulated enough experience to be completely confident that the teachings of the Buddha are both relevant and useful to humanity. If a person puts them into practice, it is certain that not only they, but others too will benefit. Now, with the important words here are, if a person puts them into practice. The teachings of the Buddha are irrelevant unless they are put to practice. It is certain that not only they, but others too will benefit. My meetings with many different sorts of people the world over have, however, helped me realize that there are other faiths and other cultures no less capable than mine of enabling individuals to lead constructive and satisfying lives. What is more, I've come to the conclusion that whether or not a person is a religious believer does not matter much. Far more important is that they be a good human being. Yes, we are agreeing. I say this in acknowledgement of the fact that though a majority of the Earth's nearly 6 billion human beings, gosh, it was nearly 6 billion human beings at the time of writing, claim allegiance to one faith tradition or another, the influence of religion on people's lives is generally marginal, especially in the developed world. It is doubtful whether globally even 1 billion are what I would call dedicated religious practitioners. That is to say, people who try on a daily basis faithfully to follow the principles and precepts of their faith. So that's an interesting and definition of a religious person, a person who tries on a daily basis faithfully to follow the principles and precepts of his or her faith. How does that sound to you?
You know, very few. That's what he's saying. People, maybe on the surface, they announce themselves as this or that, and maybe show up once in a while, but on a daily basis, very few people wake up in the morning with the motivational techniques that he decides and go to sleep at night with the motivational techniques that he...
So this is written in 1999,
Yeah.
So this is 26 years later, and it's interesting that I think that in 26 years, the changes in our society, the changes in our culture, the changes in our environment have probably led to less ability to go beyond this need, this or belief. materialism, we've become so, we have such access to material satisfaction. And the trouble with it is that it is addictive, and it is very difficult to stop it and not seek that as a method for satisfying or arriving at happiness. And so I would think that the situation today, 26 years later, would be worse. I don't know what I mean, viewing your own lives over the last 26, 30 years, have you noticed, or the lives of those around you, have you noticed, to comprehend our society and the shifts that are taking place, do you find that we are moving in a direction that, what is the direction you feel that we're moving in?
Downwards. I was looking at my expenditures, and I saw recently that I've been spending more money on Amazon, and it's happening very gradually. Every month I'm spending more money on Amazon without realizing it, and then I saw the bills, and I was like, wow, I'm spending more and more money on it. So it's kind of pulling me in.
Constant technical advancement, very seductive. You're always, oh, what's that? Oh, oh. They have, and the cell phone, in 1999, it wasn't as ubiquitous as it is now, with all the other things, and
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I've fallen a victim myself. I
You
didn't
are.
think I was going to, but
Yeah.
I have.
well, what about the kids who have no perspective?
Yeah.
They're 20 years old now, they always had a cell phone. Your sons.
In kind of normal life, I don't talk about spiritual things with people at all. I mean, as far as I know, it's just not any kind of part of anyone's day at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like this 1 hour is basically, well, I mean, at home, sure, but like outside
Yeah.
this and the people very close to me, as far as I can tell, it is not a part of anyone else's life that I know at all. I mean, His Holiness uses the word faith, where I think he uses it to mean like established religious, authentic, established, long-standing religious traditions that have proven to be effective. I mean, I think you use that word materialism, like materialism is an ontological belief, is a term that in Western philosophy you would use, that the nature of reality is atoms, and that the nature of people is the brain and chemistry and electricity, and that to the extent that there's anything wrong with how you feel, it's caused by chemistry and electricity, and it can be fixed using similar materialist methods. In my view, this is a kind of faith,
Mm-hmm.
like this ontological belief about the nature of reality is a kind of faith, but not in the sense that His Holiness means in the book.
And in that context, the scientists are the high priests.
Or some people would like to be. I mean,
Yeah.
the priesthood is a social phenomenon.
That's the final word for a lot of people. And what does science say? And it's all physical.
I mean, I do think that the nature of reality is important, that if you really believe that what truly exists are atoms and chemistry and electricity, etc., then that leads to this set of beliefs that what's really important is what's on the other side, because that other side is the only thing that is real.
Just in.
liberation in the palm of our hand, the text by Pabonka Rinpoche. Tonglen begins with giving and taking. Oh, pull out a little bit, yeah. Tonglen begins with taking on our own suffering. So Jeff Allen is reminding us that when we engage in the practice of giving and taking, we are taught to begin by thinking of removing our own suffering, and then work towards removing the suffering of others. But here, this isn't really dealing with whether that is compassion. I don't think Pabonka Rinpoche or Chichen Rinpoche and the lamas involved with liberation in the palm of your hand identified that attitude as being compassion, but they did say that you start by working towards removing your own suffering. And if you look at the Lamrim tradition, the Lamrim system, the being, we have to engage in practices that are similar to a lesser scope being whose aim is to attain a better lifetime in the future, a medium scope being who wishes to extricate himself or herself from the suffering of cyclic existence. And the great practitioner, out of great compassion, wishes to attain a state where he or she can be of benefit to all sentient beings, and recognizes that to do so one needs to attain Buddhahood. So I think we have to stop here. You're rushing to your train. Oh. But wait, so materialism, you're saying everything revolves around, everything is material based.
Yeah, materialism is the ontological belief that what is truly real are atoms and
Right,
the interaction between them.
and that's what's holding the court today, holding
But if you believe that, it means
Yeah.
the only thing that is real is the stuff out here.
Anything you
Like
can
all
measure.
this stuff is all
Right.
not real.
anything you could measure with physical, electric charge, weight, space.
Right, but to the extent that anything is wrong in here, it's caused
It's
by
chemical. Right.
material
Yes.
defects of some kind.
Can we pray for this person? Can you see that? Or should I write it down?
Just announce.
How do you pronounce it? Nadezhda Kaspiev. Yes?
Yeah.
We are being asked to pray for her as we recite the Sutra of the Recollection of the Three Noble Truths. We've also been asked to pray for Lucy Chudwick, Imgar Unterer, and Beth Richards. Okay. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavad, Tathagata, Arhat, Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans, and the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered, his strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings, he's the father of the Bodhisattvas. He's the king of noble ones, he's the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom, he possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure, his melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He's not affected by the formless realm. He's completely liberated from suffering. He's completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arrive in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent, its words are excellent, it is uncorrupted, it is completely perfect and completely pure, it completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well, it brings complete vision, it is free from sickness, it is always timely, it directs one further, seeing it fulfills one's purpose, it brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma which is taught by the Bhagavad is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Yana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable, the Dharma's virtues are inconceivable, the Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore, the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born into completely pure realm. So, we shall read the 8 verses on training the mind. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. When I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others out of jealousy treat me badly, with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. When the one whom I have benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness, directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by mistakes of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena as like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. And the prayer for the swift return of Rinpoche. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Lobsang Wan Durgatan, please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers. Lord of speech of the victor Losang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. The holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body.
Serves the welfare of others.
Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till sickly existence end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings, and wish-fulfilling jewel. Return us the glory of Losang Tempe, magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Srimati Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors. May you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moon-like face. Thank you. So, as I said, this Saturday there is no Tara here, but next Monday in New York City at 151 West 30th Street, 3rd floor, we have class at 7 o'clock in the evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank everyone.
So,